Said everybody gotta get paid. Said everybody gotta get paid. Said everybody gotta get paid.
Gervonta Davis says Devin Haney calls out all top fighters but doesn't fight anybody. What's good, everybody? It's your boy, KingRy Sports. Let's talk about it. Alright, so Gervonta Tank Davis, he'll be taking on Ryan Garcia really soon. But in the meantime, you know, the 135 division, 130 division is very stacked. A lot of good fighters, a lot of good fights to be made over there. And we can all say that Devin Haney at the moment is the king of the division. He has all the belts, so he has to be the king of the division. But there is another superstar within the division, and maybe even a bigger star than Devin Haney, and that's Gervonta Davis. Now, it's to be debated, I guess, but I guess it depends on whoever you like. In all honesty, I mean, you can't deny that Gervonta Davis' talent level is light years above most of the fighters at 130, 135. And he's exciting to watch, man. And now, is that excitement, you know, solely based off the fact that he's knocked out a bunch of guys that people think were already kind of over the hill or not even on his level? Could be debated. Or it could be that he's just way more talented than most of the guys in the division. But the question is, who's the best 130, 135? And I'm like I said earlier, most people are going to say Devin because he has all the belts. But is that 100% true? Is Devin Haney the best guy there, or did he just happen to beat George Kambosos, who happened to beat Teofimo Lopez? You know, that could be debated as well. Me personally, I do feel like he kind of became champion off a asterisk almost. You know, taking nothing away from George Kambosos, taking absolutely nothing away from George Kambosos, but George Kambosos, I don't think actually belongs at 135. I think 130 is his limit. You know, I think that's his max out. I think he can beat some of those guys up there, but a lot of those guys at 135 are a lot bigger than he is, and I'm not sure if he can match their power levels when it comes to, you know, he's not going to get, he's a grown man, so he's not going to get much bigger. The best thing that he could do would be to increase his speed and combination punching and power punching. Perhaps that could push him over the, you know, that hump, but he's so much older and a little bit later in his career than a guy like Devin or Shakur or Gervonta. So I think there's more upside with those guys than George Kambosos. But you can't say that George Kambosos is some type of pushover. He did completely dominate Teofimo Lopez. And he was actually a bigger fighter than Teofimo Lopez, which surprised me on fight night. Devin Haney, on the other hand, I just think that Devin Haney, he hasn't really proven himself yet. You know, even though he's the undisputed champion, I think that there's good fights that he hasn't been in yet. You know, and the whole George Kambosos situation kind of fell in his lap. Now, I kind of wish George Kambosos would have fought Vasyl Lomachenko instead of Devin Haney. I think he would have had a better outing with Vasyl than he did with Devin, and Devin kind of took advantage of his size. Now, saying that Devin Haney took advantage of George Kambosos' size, we all know that Gervonta Davis is a smaller 135 fighter. Will that end up being an issue for Gervonta Davis? Will Devin Haney be able to take advantage of Gervonta Davis' size if those two guys ever fight? That would be the interesting part about it, because he definitely did dominate George Kambosos both times. You know, it was a complete wash. George Kambosos, I just think he didn't evolve as a fighter. In the second fight, he did some great things. You know, he stayed in there as long as he could, but he didn't evolve as a fighter. The things he needed to correct from the first fight, it's like he took a step backwards almost. And he said he was just really distracted, Perhaps that's the truth. Perhaps not. It's to be debated. But Gervonta Davis is not George Kambosos. Gervonta Davis has a lot of great boxing skill. Gervonta Davis has a lot of good power. Gervonta Davis knows how to utilize the ring. He knows how to use distance and angles. And he's a masterful boxer. So I don't think Devin Haney will be able to take advantage of Gervonta the way he took advantage of George. But he's definitely the smaller fighter, so he would have to utilize some different tactics, because he has been fighting taller fighters and he knocked all of them out. But those guys weren't as talented as Devin Haney, and I'm not gonna sit up here and lie like they were. But you know, Devin Haney still, in my mind, I don't think is as tested as people think that he is. Even though he's the undisputed champion, there's a lot still left on the table as far as his competition level, if you ask me. You know, is that something he's going to be able to fix at 130? Because the fact of the matter is he doesn't plan on sticking around 130 for that long. So he's only going to be there probably till the end of the year if he doesn't get beat. So we only have a limited amount of time before, you know, we could possibly see Devin Haney versus Gervonta Davis. Devin Haney, you know, has a fight coming up, hopefully with Vasil. Gervonta Davis has a fight with Ryan coming up, and then he has his court situation. So depending on his court situation, you might not ever see Gervonta Davis take on Devin Haney as a 135-pound fighter. It would be horrible if that was to happen. Now, when it comes to who's calling out who, and you know, people say that Gervonta Davis's resume isn't that good, but I think Mario Barrios, you know, Hector Garcia, you know, there's one more name I'm missing, but his last 3 opponents have been some pretty good names. You know, we saw Mario Barrios fight Keith one-time Thurman, so it's not like he knocked out some slouch fighter. This is a guy who went from 130 up to 147. So, you know, Gervonta Davis, he has real boxing skill, and I don't think he calls guys out just to dip and dodge around them, because he doesn't have any belts. So every one of his fights have to be really entertaining, really good fights, and it has to be across from a decent name, or it's not going to sell well. So I don't think he's the type of guy to ever dip and dodge names. Devin Haney, listen, Devin Haney became champion the way Devin Haney became champion. You can't be mad at him. He went in there, he fought who he fought, he won the fight, and now he's the undisputed champion. That doesn't mean that his resume is that much better or better than Gervonta Davis. It just means he got the right opportunity at the right time, and he won the fight, you know, and now he's the champion. That's all that means. And for him and anybody else who's champion out there to truly be the top of the division, it's not really about the belts. You have to beat all the best names within that division to be the top dog. Or, you know, undisputed is nice, but if you didn't beat 4 or 5 champions to become undisputed, then what does that really mean? You know, what does it really mean? You know, you have to beat all the top guys to really be the top guy in any division that you're in. And I think Gervonta Davis is well on his way to that. So is Devin Haney, but hopefully those 2 guys get it on, because I think they're the best in the division. And that way they don't have to go through everybody else. They can just fight the best in the division and move on. And I think both of those guys have upside beyond 135. So we'll most likely either get that fight at 135 or 140. Maybe not in 2023, maybe 2024. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all that down in the comment section below. Hit that like button for me. Share. Subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. More than likely to get a response on the tube. So holler at me over there, and we are mighty.
Sick with the freestyle, call him the green mile. Getting money for blocks. What y'all think about me now? Gotta keep my head in the clouds. Daddy like gotta make me proud. Y'all on that payment later. Gotta get that money now. Y'all on that funny style, running round, talking shit, tossing chicks. End up with that faucet drip, off to get smooth like a player. I move like I'm greater. I I bust your mouth, leave you like you chewed a tomato. Now show a little something, drop a little bread. Our currency is green, y'all copper instead. I'm knocking your head right off of your neck. Holla at that drove man, tryna see if he's on deck. Now show some respect and throw up your set. If somebody's sicker, I don't know him yet. You know it's the S. They showing their chest. We blowing the best. It's Louis Keys, nigga. My niggas, what? 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 The latest, 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 the latest. My niggas.